Hello to the nation, PlayStation Nation here to talk to you guys over a little bit of a PC build guide video. Today's video is going to be doing the $500 budget PC. I spent a few hours yesterday making this, and I came up with 3 builds for you guys. It's going to be a $500 build, and it's actually $508. Sadly, I guess one of the items, the shipping was free yesterday and not today, so it went from $500, or actually $500.22 to $508.66. So yeah, sorry about that. We're going to do a $550 build, give or take. It's actually around $544, and then a $595 build, so around that $600 price point. And you know, it goes from basically a lot of compromises at the lower end to, you know, a couple of compromises at the mid end, and then the high end is no compromise, low budget computer. So with that being said, I'd also just like to mention, guys, this is going to be beginner geared. This is going to be totally towards beginners, and I completely sympathize with all you guys. I was 14 when I built my first computer, or assembled my first computer, I should say, and it was terrifying. The only thing that let me, you know, be able to do those things was by watching YouTube videos. So I'm going to link a couple of videos that helped me for my first computer build, and I think that almost anybody out there, if you guys are, you know, mildly tech savvy in some sort of way, you could totally do this. So I believe in all of you guys to say that you guys can probably build, or I should say assemble, your own computer. Just watch those videos in the description and see if it's something that interests you, because you can save yourself a lot of money in the long run, and you guys can make a pretty bomb computer. Like, it's going to, like, crush, like, even this $500 computer is going to crush, you know, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which are both priced at around that $500 price point. So anyway, without further ado, let's kind of get started. So we're going to start off with the low end. All of these computers are not going to have Windows 8 included. They're not going to have a display, a keyboard, a mouse, or, you know, headphones or anything like that. No peripherals, guys. I think that's kind of fair considering, you know, a PlayStation, when priced at $500, the only peripherals it comes with is a controller and like the eyes, bar, status, whatever, Kinect thing. I don't know. Those are the only things that really come with it. So, you know, yeah, this is going to be a little bit more expensive than an equivalent Xbox or PlayStation, but what you guys are going to get out of it is cheaper games. Games are going to be around half the price, if not less, than what you'd get on PlayStation and Xbox, and you guys are going to be able to upgrade this thing, you know, forever, and it's going to be amazing. You're never going to need to go buy a whole new computer. One computer is going to be an Intel platform. We're using an Intel Pentium G3258. It runs at 3.2 gigahertz stock, and it's a dual-core processor. So it might sound a little bit intimidating for me to tell you guys right off the bat to go ahead and overclock that, but it really isn't that difficult. I highly suggest it for those of you interested in it, and just looking up a couple overclock tutorials, you guys should be able to get through it pretty painlessly, especially because this processor in specific was released with the full intention to overclock. It's a $69 processor, and it is absolutely amazing for its price point. It far outbeats, you know, anything else that I could suggest for that same under $100 price point. The motherboard is going to be the Asus H81MD Plus Micro ATX LGA 1150 motherboard. So pretty much the only thing that matters there is that it's an LGA 1150 motherboard, meaning that it fits that Pentium processor, as well as it's a micro ATX motherboard. So this was the first compromise I had to make with this build. Again, this is the low end build, so a couple of compromises were made here. We needed to get a micro ATX motherboard, which means it's a smaller motherboard. It doesn't have as much upgradability. You know, you can't ever throw a second graphics card in here. You can't ever throw, you know, more RAM in here. You're going to be full of RAM the very first thing you do. So, you know, kind of some of those upgrades in the future are going to be limited, but for now, this computer is going to be very powerful. So that's going to be your motherboard. Your memory is going to be 8 gigabytes. It's a 2x4 kit, so 2 DIMMs of 4 gigabytes of DDR3 2133 megahertz G.Skill Ripjaws X Series RAM. So I got my first RAM kit was a G.Skills Ripjaws X Series RAM, but it was 1333 megahertz. So that being said, you know, not very important, but this RAM is really good. It's the most expensive, or second most expensive part of the build at $70, so even more expensive than the processor. Very good RAM, and 8 gigabytes is really all you're going to need, especially for a low-end gaming computer. So you guys are going to get really great frames and all that sort of stuff. You might not be able to play at ultra textures on every game, considering RAM might be an issue, but it is still a pretty good computer. Now going on to storage, you guys are going to have an SSD and an HDD. You know, it used to be, when I bought my first computer, I bought a $1,000 computer, and I could not afford an SSD with my computer. It wouldn't work. They were too expensive at the time, and now is a better time than ever to go ahead and purchase yourself an SSD. If you guys don't know what that is, pretty much what it means is What it means is it's a faster storage device. So it's a type of storage which is on a lot of laptops now. It's going to be on a lot of desktops now. It's a faster type of storage so that your computer will boot up faster. You'll be able to load up softwares faster, load up games faster, you know, load everything faster. And it's high performance storage. So that's pretty much all you guys need to know. It's only going to be, it's a SanDisk solid state drive, and it's only going to be 128 gigabytes. So I would have wanted to go with a 240 gigabyte SSD, but just happened that it wasn't in the budget. And you know, 128 gigabytes is fine. You're going to be able to install Windows on it, or Linux, or whatever you guys want to install on it. You're going to be able to install that, and you're also going to be able to install all your softwares. The one thing I would say is if you're going to install games, install that on the hard drive, which is the secondary storage device we have here. The secondary storage device is going to be a hard drive. It's a Western Digital RE3 7200 RPM 3.5-inch drive, and this was our second compromise. So along with the motherboard, we needed to reduce cost elsewhere, and this is where I decided to do it. Originally, I had a 1 terabyte hard drive in with this build, and it just wouldn't fit with the budget, so I needed to reduce it to a 250 gigabyte Western Digital drive. So this drive is going to work for you. It's going to be fine, but again, the reason I want to sort of I want to save money here is because you can also add more hard drives later on. The case that we got has support for many drives, so you can add another drive later on if you run out of space, so that's always an upgrade option. But again, I would suggest off the bat saving up a little bit more money, an extra $20, and being able to buy a 1 terabyte drive opposed to, you know, spending $20 now for a 250 gigabyte drive. But then again, 250 gigs is good enough. It'll get you, you know, a lot of games and stuff like that. So anyway, continuing on. The case that we're going to have is the Thermaltake Commander MS-I or MS1, I don't know what that is, ID ATX mid-tower case. So that's a lot of stuff to throw at you. Really, all it means is it's a cool looking case that has a lot of features in it, and it's a mid-tower case, meaning it's a little bit smaller than some of the huge cases you guys might see. And that basically means it's, again, a little bit of a compromise. You know, if you guys want to, you know, upgrade your parts and get like a water cooling loop and all this crazy stuff, probably not going to work in this case. But right now, this case does have room for a dual 120, dual 140 water, like AIC or AIO all-in-one water cooling loop. So you guys can get, you know, an H100i down the road if you want to throw water cooling on your CPU. You guys can go about getting more drives. You can get, you know, an optical drive or multiple optical drives if you want to. You guys can go about fitting, you know, multiple graphics cards and different things in here. So that's definitely a suggestion to go with that sort of case. You guys can go with cheaper ones, but then again, this is already very cheap at $30. The final, or second last thing I guess I should say before we go to video card is going to be the power supply. The power supply was a Corsair 500 watt ATX 12 volt power supply, and this is actually a modular power supply. So it was really convenient. You know, it has a $20 mail-in rebate, and I normally wouldn't go with a part that has a mail-in rebate, but all the parts in here that do have a mail-in rebate, I have personally gotten my mail-in rebate back from them. So Corsair being one of them. Corsair was the first power supply I ever got for one of my computers, and I got my mail-in rebate back from them within like 6 to 8 weeks. So it was a little bit long, but at the same time, I did get it back. And this is a modular power supply. It's 700 or 500 watts, and it is 80 plus bronze. That is the most important thing, guys. It is an 80 plus bronze power supply, and if you guys don't know what that means, it means that it's rated for a good, clean power. You know, there's basically different standards. There's 80 plus bronze, there's 80 plus silver, there's 80 plus gold, and then there's 80 plus platinum. And it basically means that it's a better quality power supply. So you for $39, guys, you really can't go wrong with this power supply, and all you really need right now is 500 watts. So now the final part is going to be the GPU. So the GPU is probably one of the most important things for a build, especially a build like this. This is really going to set the tone of what type of games you can play. So I wanted to look up a bunch of benches and find out exactly what the best graphics card was, and at this point, adding everything up, we were at around that $320. So we were at $320, which meant we only had around 180 bucks to throw on a graphics card, and my first graphics card ever was around $280. So it was very difficult for me to try and find something that I would have been happy with. But now, with graphics cards going down in price like they have and performance going up, I've got to settle on an MSI Radeon R9 to 83 GB Twin Frozer. So Twin Frozer was one of the first graphics cards I had, or a Twin Frozer model. I actually had a 560 Ti that was a Twin Frozer, and basically what that means is it allows you to overclock the crap out of your graphics card because there's amazing cooler on it. But looking at the just default specs of the R9 280, it's a very good graphics card. We had to, in some of the mid and high-end versions of this build, we actually upgraded it to an R9 280X, which is a decent jump better. You know, it's not night and day, but it is still a decent jump better in graphics performance. So again, if you have the extra, you know, $30 to throw in for this computer, I suggest going for a R9 280X, not just the R9 280. But that being said, the R9 280 is a great graphics card. So that brings the total for this build so far up to $508.66. Again, it was under that $500 price point yesterday, but prices fluctuate so dramatically that you know, by the time you guys go and click on that link, it might have went back down again. So anyway, that is the first build. Now let's go on to the mid build. So the mid $500 build is going to be priced at $544, and the only difference is, like I said before, upgrading from that R9 280 to the R9 280X. Now we're going to be going with a Gigabyte Radeon R9 280X, so we're not going with an MSI Twin Frozer, but we are going with a Gigabyte 280X, and I've been rocking Gigabyte cards for a while now. I had a Gigabyte 560 Ti, I had a Gigabyte 780 Ti, I currently have a Gigabyte 780 Ti, and they work great. I really do like Gigabyte. I've had to deal with their support once, and I really had a good experience, so I definitely would suggest that card. It's going to be priced at $220, meaning it's going to bring the total cost of the build up over $38 or $36, I should say. So that is the only difference with this build. We have the same motherboard, same RAM, same everything else. But again, one of those upgrades that you guys can decide. I suggest, you know, if you do babysitting or have a part-time job or whatever it is, save up a little bit extra and then go for this card. You're going to really like it in the long run. It'll give you an extra like 5 or 10% performance across the board, so highly suggest it. So now moving on to the $500 high-end computer, this really should be called the $500 upgradable computer because that's mainly what it's geared towards. Not necessarily just, you know, no holds barred, but I upgraded a lot of things just to make sure that you could upgrade them in the future as well. So the total price of this one's going to be $589, guys. So it's going to be an extra 45 on top of the mid and an extra 82 on top of the low end. So what is this actually going to get you? So just like the mid tower, it's going to have, or just like the mid tier, it's going to have the Gigabyte Radeon R9 280X. So it's going to get you an additional 10 or 15% performance bump on the low end, which is definitely worth it. I would definitely suggest that. And then as well, it's going to offer you a couple extra benefits. So it's going to give you, first of all, the ASRock B85 Anniversary ATX motherboard. So it's not a mini ATX, it's going to be a full ATX motherboard, which is going to offer you a couple extra X1 slots and whatnot, so you guys can throw, you know, different, you know, wireless cards, or if you guys ever got like a Blackmagic Intensity Pro, like a recording sort of thing, or you guys want to put anything inside your computer, really, you guys are free to do so, you know, whatever it may be. And then it's also going to offer you the ability to upgrade your RAM. So right now, 8 gigabytes is all you really need for gaming, right? But that might change in the near future. You might find that certain games bottleneck based off of the RAM. That's unlikely, but what could be more likely is, say you guys wanted to do video editing or photo editing or, you know, video production, you know, even just YouTube videos. 8 gigabytes won't cut it for a lot of things. You know, it's gonna be fine, and you're gonna be able to do video editing and whatnot, but it's going to chug. So, you know, you may want to, a few months down the road, add an extra 8 or 16 gigabytes of RAM to your computer, and this is how you're going to be able to do it, by getting this motherboard. So it's going to have 4 slots for your RAM. So right now you're only going to have 2 sticks. You can add another 2 sticks down the road, so you can add 2 8 gig sticks and get 24 gigabytes of RAM, which is exactly what I did when I first got my computer. On my first computer, I have 24 gigabytes of RAM in there. And then finally, the next thing that you guys are going to be able to upgrade on this build for the extra $82 is you guys are going to get 4 times the amount of storage on your hard drive, guys. I upgraded from the Western Digital 250 gigabyte drive to a Seagate Barracuda 1 terabyte drive. So that is totally worth it, guys. It's only an extra $25, and so it goes from 22 to 47 for the drive, and it goes 4 times the actual storage. So it's totally worth it for the money if you guys have the extra $25 to throw at it. And that's going to offer you the ability of, say you do want to record YouTube videos, you have the storage now to record YouTube videos onto that drive. Now you have, you know, storage to download movies and such. So of course, movies from legal sources such as iTunes or whatever. You guys are also going to have the ability to, you know, install more games, of course. You know, 250 gigabytes is going to last you probably for, you know, around 10 to 20 games, and then after that it's probably going to start filling up quite quickly. So that's another thing you guys can do. And yeah, so those are really all the differences. Everything else is the same case, same you know, SSD, same everything else. And it's gonna be up to you guys. So where you want to fall on this $500 sort of budget, on the low end, on the high end, whatever, it's up to you guys. Because again, some people might consider that $82 to be totally worth it, and some people might say that $82 would be better spent on a keyboard, mouse, and headphones. So anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy. Make sure you guys comment down below telling me what you guys thought, what parts are in your computer. Do you guys have a budget computer like this? Should I have put a different part in this budget computer than I did? And all the PC part picker links will be in the descriptions, and all of the videos for tutorials on how you guys can actually go about making your own computers will be in the description as well. So make sure you guys check those out and all that sort of stuff. And again, comment down below what my future build should be, what future stuff I should do. So anyway, hopefully you guys did enjoy. I'm the Doctor, and I'm out.